And for more on those games and the games you want to be eyeing up this weekend, let's bring in our Chip Patterson to talk about it with us. Chip, let's start with the early slate wager for Saturday. In terms of these games that you're looking at, what's the one that kind of catches your eye right away here?
For the early slate, I think that we got to start right at the high noon. So go ahead and get it in because the Auburn overs have been absolutely cashing. I mean, it's just the way that Auburn plays basketball. They play with a lot of up-tempo. Obviously, they have a lot of different ways to score and a lot of different scorers that can beat you. And Texas A&M as well is another team that has been very, very favorable to the over. I mean, it sometimes is Auburn and another team in a shootout or going to overtime like what we saw against Arkansas, or sometimes it is Auburn just putting up 100 on their own. But Auburn, fantastic team. They can score. They play at a fast tempo. And I think that playing against Texas A&M, they're going to be more than happy to play that kind of game. 2 over teams in the SEC, so that's why I like that one.
Okay, Chip, let's go to number 22, St. Mary's, who are rolling along as they take on Gonzaga, or pardon me, they take on a rolling Gonzaga. Gonzaga playing some great basketball as of late. 15-point favorites or so. I mean, when you look at a game like that, I mean, when the spread is so big, they have one of the highest over-under totals in terms of the games being played on Saturday. Where do you find value in a matchup like that?
With Gonzaga, you lay it. Oh, I think that there's an inflated price on St. Mary's because of that national ranking. I think there's an inflated price on St. Mary's because so many view St. Mary's as one of the best threats to Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference. We just saw what happened against BYU. We have seen what's happened against some of the better teams. I just think that the distance between Gonzaga and the rest of the West Coast Conference is not disrespectful to St. Mary's, to BYU, to those other teams that would like to consider themselves among the best in the country. It is a large distance because there's also distance between Gonzaga and some of the rest of the teams on a national level, even coming from power conferences. So I think that in this game, Gonzaga's going to win by 20 because Gonzaga's been beating conference opponents by 20 almost every single time they hit the floor. And so I feel like we have the rare opportunity to jump on Gonzaga as a favorite. I mean, Jeremy, to me, this is like when you get the opportunity to cash Alabama football tickets. People want Gonzaga to lose, so it is built into the price there. They think St. Mary's is the team that can do it in the regular season, and I disagree. So let's go with the Zags.
Yeah, and the Zags, that's the highest over-under total for the weekend. Of course, the Zags, 65 games unbeaten at home, 30 straight games in conference play. I mean, they're just going to keep rolling, you'd have to think, against a Providence team. All right, let's take on St. Mary's, pardon me. Let's talk about number 12, UCLA, at number 21, USC. The Bruins favored by a bucket here after beating Stanford in their last outing. They're 2 games back of first in the Pac-12. What are you expecting to see here?
I think that UCLA against a rival, the crosstown rival, you're playing on the road, but not really on the road. But I think that we'll start to see this group be focused in a way where you realize that this team can make a very deep run in the NCAA tournament. And I think that's because they've just between, Tiger Campbell, Johnny Juzang, they got lots of different ways to be able to pick you apart. And I think that, as Cody Riley's come on later, the results have not been fantastic. In fact, the results have been inconsistent. Juzang has been inconsistent. But the Bruins need something to snap out of this funk right here, and I do think that going up against USC is the opportunity to do so. This is a Trojans team that I always like to get on their side when they are a bigger underdog, just because they do such a great job on the defensive end. Boogie Ellis is a fantastic at the guard position, and Isaiah Mobley is still one of the best players in the Pac-12. When you get them as an opportunity to be the thorn in the side of a big favorite, I really like USC for that because they're so fundamentally sound. But in this game, when the spread is only a bucket, Jeremy, that line too little. And when I see the line too little, I'm going to go with the Bruins because they're the more talented team. And while they have been inconsistent, I think going up against a rival, against one of the better teams in the Pac-12, this is where Mick Cronin has that group playing some of their best basketball. And we go into Sunday being like, oh, that's right, UCLA is a team that deserves to be in that top tier in the Pac-12.
First time since 2007 that both teams meet while in the top 25, and for UCLA chasing their first road win at USC since 2018. All right, let's recap those picks. Both of those games part of the late slate on Saturday night. They are, of course, West Coast games as St. Mary's taking on Gonzaga. Big points there. 15.5. That line has jumped between 15.5 and 16. It's got the highest over-under total of any of the games on Saturday. Chip says it doesn't matter. Take the points. Take Gonzaga there. And UCLA favored by a bucket at USC. As mentioned, they haven't won at USC since 2018. But Tim says take UCLA there on the road to get the win. All right, let's talk about some of the top 10 games Saturday afternoon, starting with number 7, Duke taking on Boston College. After going to Smith Center and grabbing a big win last weekend in Coach K's final appearance there, Duke then lost to Virginia early in the week. They bounced back by beating Clemson on Thursday. They go to Boston College as 13-point favorites. The over-under there at 140 and a hook. What should we expect against Boston College here from Duke?
Toughness from Boston College. That is what Earl Grant really has instilled in this team. They are going to be getting up in your face. They're going to be doing a great job on the glass. They've got sort of a three-man front court that really does a good job on the offensive and defensive rebounding side. But Boston College just doesn't have enough scores. And so I'm looking at this game, and you might think second straight road game for the Blue Devils, by the way. They get the win against Clemson. Now they're on the road again against Boston College. Are they going to get an upset scare? Is there going to be a potential that Boston College, with that toughness, with the way that they're defending and rebounding, that they're going to be able to have this as a real moment of tension later in the game? I don't necessarily think that that's the case, though I do say beware of the mid-window tip time here. That 5 p.m. Eastern time, that's sometimes where upsets do happen, and the whole nation is scrambling for the clicker because it's not in our regular rotation. We don't have it on a screen. So be on the lookout. There might be an upset scare, but I do think that Duke wins. We do not see another court storming in Mike Krzyzewski's final season as the Blue Devils head coach. But how much Duke wins by, I don't want to bet on that. That's where instead I'm looking at the under, and that's because I think that we've got two ways to get there and cash this under ticket. Number one, if Duke blows them out, this is a long season. They'll start to play to Boston College's tempo. They'll play slow. They'll try to have good passes, good execution. So then while Duke might win by 25, it still comes under. The other thing is that Boston College does make this a little bit dicey for the Blue Devils. I think it's because of their defense, and I think it's because they've made life tough for the Blue Devils. Scoring is suppressed, and that is under as well. So with two ways to win, I'm going to attack the total in this one.
All right, Chip, we're happy now to welcome in Tim Doyle, who joins us from outside SoFi Stadium as part of our Super Bowl 56 coverage. But, Tim, we're talking a little college hoops here. We're talking about Duke and Boston College. Big line here for Duke. Of course, they're coming off the win on Thursday night against Clemson. When you look at this game, where are you kind of attacking this in terms of a wager?
Duke's 25 points better, but this is a February conference game, and these are the dog days of the season. Not the dog days out here. I mean, look at this weather. Why do I live in Chicago? That's what I'm still trying to figure out, and I've only been out here for 24 hours. I'm going to take the dog in this spot, and this is one of those games you bet Boston College, you go like this. Just hold on for dear life. Chip's analysis was spot on. I do expect this to be a lower paced, lower scoring game. But I played in the Big Ten. I played in the Big East. I remember these February games. It was like, and think about it, if you're Duke. You play on the national stage how many times a year? Now you're at Boston College. Talk about boring. And as for Boston College, it's the biggest game they play all year, right? This is the Super Bowl. This is Duke coming to town. They're probably going to sell out. So the energy is going to be extremely high. Boston College, they're at their best, playing great defense. So I expect a low-scoring game. I probably like Chip's bet more than I like my own, but I'll take the dog in this spot and hold on for dear life.
Yeah, Boston College last win versus Duke was in December of 2017, but good bets to cover here, according to our Tim Doyle. All right, let's talk about number 5, Kentucky, welcoming Florida to Lexington. They've won 5 straight. They're 9.5-point favorites. Are you on the Wildcats to make it 6 here, Tim?
I'm not, just because the point spread is a bit aggressive. You know, Kentucky's one of those teams, guys, that when they play the top-tier talent in college basketball, they rise to the occasion, whether it's Alabama or whether it's Kansas. But against other teams, Florida's another team right now. Now, they're playing their best basketball of the year, but you look at Kentucky, Vandy, don't cover. Mississippi State, don't cover. recently against South Carolina, game that went right down to the wire, didn't cover in that spot. And as for Florida, like Gene Katie told me this, came to my wedding, gave me a cash gift. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. And right now, Florida's playing their best basketball of the year. They've won 4 straight. Like, they got confidence and swag in this spot, and I'm getting 10 points. Kentucky's clearly the better team, the more talented team. But, Chip, this is way too many points. You're not on the Wildcats, are you?
Oh, and Florida's playing with so much urgency right now. In terms of their NCAA tournament future, one of the things that's weighing them down is something they can't change. 2 really bad quadrant 3 losses. The only thing they can do is try to balance those with incredible wins, and winning against Kentucky, a national championship contender in Rupp. That's one of the best wins that you could have in all of college basketball this season. And so I think that urgency leads Florida to play with a little bit of zip. I love the matchup of Oscar Tshiebwe against Colin Castleton. Watching those two go back and forth could end up being one of the really great one-on-one matchups of the day. But ultimately, I think that all of that urgency, and I think that all of that energy, the fact that Rupp might see their Kentucky Wildcats with an early deficit, and they need to try to fire up the home team, I see this going over. I see this being a game where instead of having to sweat out a number that I agree with Tim, like might be too big, I think the way the game script plays out, it ends up being with higher scoring for both of these teams.
Florida's last win versus a top 5 team came back in 1988, and it was at number 4 Kentucky. Just something to think about. Some good games to be had there and some good value to be found. Let's recap Tim and Chip's picks for these games. In terms of Duke, the 13-point spread as they take on Boston College. Tim says take Boston College there, but Chip likes the under. Chip going with the totals in both of these games. Florida at number 5, Kentucky. Tim likes Florida to help cover that, and Chip says go with the over. All right, let's get some top wagers of the day from Tim, Doyle, and Chip Patterson. Chip, I actually started the segment off by getting your top wager for the day. Got a little ahead of myself on that one there. So Tim's got the hammer out. Tim, your early slate wager for Saturday.
Do you know how hard this is when you don't check a bag to get this on, right? But somehow I managed to do it. I get it out to L.A., Jeremy, and this is the game of a lifetime. I mean, you're getting all these points with Rutgers, Jim Tan Laundry in this spot. Yes, Wisconsin should be favorite. 4, 3.5. So I think you're getting a massive edge here. Rutgers, when they put it together, beat Ohio State, beat Michigan State, and they beat who I think is the best team in college basketball, Purdue. Now, Wisconsin had an impressive win last night against Michigan State, but that's like Bo Ryan, Tom Izzo. They know each one of their plays. Like, they know each other so well. So that win, to me, because I played in the Big Ten, like, doesn't mean as much. I know it really resonates nationally, and no doubt about it, they should be favorite in this game. But 8.5 points? Get out your Toyota Corolla with the spoiler in this spot. Bet it all on Rutgers here, because this is way too many points for the Scarlet Knights. Give me the dog here. Hammer time.
Auburn is a great over team. One of the most fun teams in all of college basketball. And Texas A&M is a very desperate team that Buzz Williams, he can play at different paces, but ultimately the offense does rank in the top 100 in terms of average possession length. The Aggies can get up and run. And so when we find these matchups where two teams' styles work well together, especially, again, going back to Texas A&M with this losing streak, like they've got to come and they've got to bring the fight to this game, which means I don't think that it's going to be a sleepy start. So I like Auburn, Texas A&M, take the over.
All right, let's get that off the radar pick for Saturday then. Chip, I'll start with you here. What's your off the radar selection?
Oh, it's time to jump in on the Butler Bulldogs. This is a team that has fallen well short of my preseason expectations. But since mid-January, once the lineup has started to get a little bit more well-rounded, you've started to see some improvement in the play. The results have not necessarily been there, but 3 losses their last 3 times out, but all by 1 possession. This feels like a Bulldogs team under Coach Jordan that is rounding the corner right now. And Marquette, which is one of the better teams in the Big East, coming into Hinkle. This is like potentially a prime upset, a moneyline sprinkle opportunity. But at 3 and a hook, I think that's a great opportunity for Butler, a team that just recently has only been playing in 1 possession games.
The Midwest, huh? Raise your hand if you were in Peoria, Illinois this week, because I was, and it was snowing. It was awful, okay? But I learned something there. I called the Bradley-Loyola game. Bradley knocked off Loyola. Bradley's playing the best of anybody right now in the Missouri Valley Conference. That's why they're favored over Drake. Last year, Drake made the tournament. Valley might get 2 teams in the tournament. Whoever the Valley sends to the tournament, they're winning a game because that's what the Valley does. They win a game every single year in the tournament. So I saw Bradley up close and personal, and I was really impressed with their big man, Rink Mask. Now, Jeremy's from the Netherlands, but he doesn't wear wooden shoes when he plays college basketball. What an advantage, right? You get to wear like Nikes or whatever, whoever they're sponsored by. The guy is physical. He's strong. And last time Bradley played Drake, they went to Drake and shot 60% and knocked off the Bulldogs. I would lay 7 in this game. Jeremy, it's simple. The more you bet, the more you win.
You got the hammer and the bag there, Tim. Nicely done. Bringing both the props with you to SoFi. Thank you, gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk parlay bets in a second here. But first off, let's talk about our feature games on CBS this weekend. We start with number 8, Kansas, welcoming Oklahoma to Allen Fieldhouse. Sooners going for their first win there since 1993. They come in as 10.5-point dogs. Then Sunday, we have number 3, Purdue, hosting Maryland. The Terrapins have lost 4 straight, but the Boilermakers coming off a big loss themselves. A tip-off set for 1 p.m. Eastern time for both.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.